Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us for our webinar, Building No-Code Websites and Apps with Richard Carthon. My name is Jalen Carter, the Community Program Manager at the Innovation Institute, and we're excited to chat with you all about this topic today. I'm going to start off by introducing Richard, and then I'm going to pass the floor to him. So, Richard is a seasoned sales strategist and entrepreneur with an illustrious career marked by extraordinary accomplishments in sales management. Renowned for his consistent track record of breaking records, securing new accounts, and fostering unprecedented growth for multi-million-dollar corporations, Richard is a standout figure in his field. Armed with a profound understanding of sales cycle dynamics, exceptional negotiation skills, and a talent for assembling high-performing teams, Richard is recognized as a visionary leader. His professional journey spans diverse sectors, from operations and marketing to media, and now extends into the cutting-edge realms of blockchain and Web3 technologies. Currently serving as co-host at Edge of Company, a groundbreaking Web3 transmedia venture headquartered in Los Angeles, Richard leads the charge in business development initiatives, driving the company's expansion and success. Simultaneously, Richard holds the role of managing partner at Acadia Digital, a New Orleans-based Web3 venture capital firm, where he plays a pivotal role in steering the company's investment strategies and growth. Additionally, as a managing partner at Crescent City Capital, another Web3-focused firm, Richard continues to excel in fundraising efforts while implementing strategic frameworks to enhance business operations and investor relations. Outside of his professional endeavors, Richard is a passionate sports enthusiast, an avid traveler, and a dedicated gamer. His diverse interests reflect a life characterized by a relentless pursuit of excellence at the crossroads of innovation and entrepreneurship. Thank you for joining us, Richard. The floor is yours.
All right, thank you for that intro, Jalen. I also want to start off by saying roll wave. I am a proud Tulane alum. I was a dual sport athlete back at Tulane. I played football and baseball there, and as a business school grad. So happy to be back here and talking innovation, love entrepreneurship, and here to help however I can. So today we're going to be talking about building no-code websites and apps. So the goal is to master AI-powered tools for effortless website and app creation. So when I started my entrepreneurial journey, one of the first things I learned how to do was build websites. And a lot has happened over the decade plus in technology that has allowed for way more people to be able to come in and create their own both website and application. I built my first app while I was at Tulane and also built my first couple websites. So I'm gonna go through a couple of lessons that I learned and things that are going to help you on your journey to potentially do the same. So the purpose of today is to empower you to create no-code websites and apps using AI tools. Artificial intelligence truly has changed the game. I don't know how many of you on this call right now are leveraging AI in your day-to-day, but if you are not, I highly encourage it. And by the end of this presentation, you will see why. So we're going to be talking about creating strategies for building your website and app, choosing the right AI builder for your needs, and then the actionable steps you can take to build a functional website and app. So I don't just like talking in theory, I like actionable steps, and I'm going to do that with you. And I'm actually going to have a live demo of one of the tools that I'm going to show you today so you can see in real time how these things can be used. So how to build your first website or app. We're going to be going through a very practical guide for anyone, whether you're an individual or a small business and you're trying to start to create your first website or app. So these are the 10 things we're going to talk about today. We're going to define your website app's purpose. We're going to register a domain name, planning your site and app structure. We're going to choose your website and building platform, what to consider when choosing your no-code tools, because there's a lot out there. You got to know where to start. Some case studies and different tools that you can use. Hosting, which I'll get into what that is later. The importance of testing before you launch. Just because you have this really cool thing, you shouldn't just dive into it. You should test first. And I wanted to call that out because that is very important and a step that I missed in one of my early launches. So really want to emphasize that. And then I think the most important part of all of this is after you launch the promotion and maintaining of your website and app, the real work as you start getting this out to the world. And then we're going to finish with Q&A. I'm sure there will be a lot of questions that come up, and I want to make sure we spend some time answering those questions. So starting number one, defining your website and app's purpose. A lot of people have this vision or dream of like, oh, it'd be really cool. I like to create crafts and I want to sell them on my own website. Or I've always wanted to create a book and then I want to give that out to the world. Or, maybe you are a tradesperson and you work on cars. And so you have your own shop and you're just trying to drive traffic to your website to be able to come and get more business. There's a lot of reasons why you would want to build a website or even an application, mobile app. But you really need to define like what the objective is. And then after you define like, okay, this is what it is, who are you trying to reach? So for today's purpose, I'm going to pick a random goal that I have. So I enjoy cars. I'm very passionate about cars. And let's say for the purpose of this, I have a passion to create an old school um, car shop that sells and buys and sells unique old cars. So that's the framework I'm going to use as we kind of go through this process. So my audience is going to be other people who like historical cars are and that are in that kind of market or go to these, car shows and like to bring up the old school cars. So then we get into competitive research and why competitors are important to look up. Most of the time, when you have a really good idea, there's a really, really strong chance someone else has had that idea. And it's good to know who those competitors are because you can learn from them. You can look at how are they positioning themselves? How are they branding themselves? How are they selling? How are they doing basically how have they created their business to be successful? And then you can kind of figure out like, okay, well, how are you different? How are you more niche? Or how are you addressing some gaps that they potentially have? So I've gone to and been a part of several pitches and heard at this point in my life, I've listened to over 400 pitches from various startups and even people trying to get up to Series A. And early pre-seed, even seed companies that come and try to raise money. Sometimes they say, well, who are your competitors? And they say, there's nothing like this in the market. And I'm here to tell you there is. You always have a competitor, and it's important to know who that is. So next is choosing and registering your domain name. So why am I starting here before we get into a bunch of other places? Because this is also something that has happened to me. You come up with this really cool idea, you come up with this really cool name, and then you potentially go through all the process, and then you get to the very end, and then you realize, oh no, that domain doesn't exist. And what I mean by that is like your website. So like when you're trying to go and find this or market it, etc., somebody already has it. And so before you get super deep into this process, you should come out the gates thinking about, okay, what's my name and what is the domain I potentially want to register, right? So a couple of things that will help you with this. Make sure it's memorable. It's easy to recall and spell. If you make it super hard to spell, it's a lot harder to find online. So easy to recall, easy to spell, short and simple. Ideally under 15 characters. The longer it is, like I'm sure some of you know, like people who have businesses and they have super long URLs. Um, Not that it's impossible, but it's a lot easier. The less friction you can give somebody, the better. So the shorter, the better. And then of course relevance, that it's like reflecting your brand, the content, the thing that you're trying to do. Sometimes you can come up with a really creative name, but like when someone hears it, they don't really understand the correlation to like what your business is. So making sure that correlation is there. And then the domain extension. So it used to be very important to have .com, but things have changed. Now you have .io. You have, if you're a nonprofit, usually you use .org. You have so many other ways and endings that you can put onto your website. So I would say right now, what's more important is just finding a good name that feels good with your brand, and then seeing does anybody own it? And if the answer is no, that's good. Have that in mind and potentially have some variations, because as you go through this process, by the time it's time to go and secure it, um, you can act quickly and go ahead and purchase that. So next, you have to plan your site and app structure and design your layout. So, um, sitemap and wireframes. This is very important. So when you think about, let's just go from the concept of a website. You go to a website, usually you land on a homepage, and then you have tabs. You have these other things that you can go to. So like the about section, if you have products, all the products, your contact us, etc. Mapping that out is important because you have to think about your end user experience and where you're ultimately trying to get them to go. There has to be some sort of call to action. There has to be some sort of conversion. And the more steps that you put, the greater the chance that the person you're trying to get to do an action is not going to do it. So coming out the gates, having that top of mind is very important. That's a website. An app, even more important. So if you were to create a mobile application, and there's a lot of steps that go into that, right? So as soon as you go in there, if it's a brand new person and you first open it, okay, how do they sign up? Are they signing up with Google or with a email and password? Are they using a Gmail account, etc.? So like even just thinking all the way from the beginning of the process of like how does this person sign up, and then what is once they sign up, what is the first page they see, and then go through everything else. Why do you have to start with that? Because you have to understand the full journey of what you're trying to bring to your person. So the reason I say that that is a good place to start before you even think about your branding is because once you understand, like if you're visualizing the journey that your user is going on and going through once they land on your website or they land on your app, you then have a clear picture of what you want your brand to reflect for that end destination that you're trying to bring your person that lands on your website or that lands on your app, that user experience. And so branding, colors, your fonts, the images that's going to reflect your brand. Very important to think through. The reason I put Coca-Cola on there is one of the greatest brands of all time. The marketing campaigns they have done is unbelievable. Tons of case studies out there. If you're ever just looking for inspiration on incredible branding, go look up Coca-Cola. And the final thing is responsive design and templates. So another mistake I made on one of the first apps that I made is that you can create a really awesome UI potentially for a mobile application, but it doesn't necessarily scale to if someone's looking at this on a desktop. And then there's a lot of tablets out there now. So how does it scale onto those as well? Luckily, a lot of the tools I'm going to share with you do it for you. So like now you don't even have to like stress or think about that nearly as much as you potentially had to 15 years ago. Today, pretty much everything you build, they make it very responsive and make it beautiful. You don't have to think too hard about it, which is very nice. So that's why I have that as the last. So now we got to go into building platforms. So you go through that process and you're like, all right, I'm ready. I think I'm ready to actually start doing the next steps. So where do you start? So I'm going to break this down on the website platform and on the app platforms. And I want to first say, although I'm providing 4 options, there are so many options. I am just providing 4 that I think are some of the best places to start. So for a website platform, I'm going to start with GoDaddy. I wouldn't say that it's necessarily the best or the cheapest, but I have used it through my entire campaign of building websites, and I'm just very familiar with it. And yeah, it's very solid as a platform to go and build websites. You can find a domain. You can set up the website builder like WordPress and some of the others that are out there. You can get SSL certificates so that you have the HTTPS on it and not just the HTTP. Email marketing, all of it. It's all there, but again, it can become very pricey. So that's one reason why I am a little more hesitant to suggest that. And there's a lot of other options out there. So like Hostinger, so it's very affordable. You could do web hosting and several other things that GoDaddy can do, but it's way more cost effective. And it's newer. Wix has been around also for a long time. Very easy drag and drop type of interface. and a lot pretty customizable as well. If you are looking for like an e-commerce type of website, Wix is a great place to potentially start if you don't have a lot of experience in that. And then you have Squarespace, super sleek, all in one platform. It's pretty straightforward, but it's a little bit more limited in how you can customize because they try to make it just super easy for you to go and start. So that's the website side. The app side, um, if you're trying to build a mobile app, there are a ton of different ways to go back to the last screen. The wireframe is very important. This can help you get that process started. Um, and as you start to build that out, a lot of the wireframing in the application process is understanding uh, how things are going to move and flow through the app. And then the hard part is then like once you understand that is like coding it so that it actually does the things and does the moves that you're saying. So these apps are just really helping you with the wireframing, and then some of them actually do go the next step and creates the code so that you can launch it and have it do the next thing. So Bubble is a visual development platform. You can build web apps and with no code, which is really awesome. The reason I'm going to spend a little bit more time here, uh, basically, yeah, 13 years ago, I built my own app and it cost a lot of money, time, and a lot of communication back and forth. And later on in this presentation, I'm going to do a very simple version of a V1 of an app that I potentially like would want to create. And the same process that I'm going to show you is going to cost nothing because it's free and it's going to take minutes versus months that it took me to do. So I just want to show you just the jump in advancement that we've come in like these amount of years. It's insane. So anyway, we have Adalo, which is also another code, not code builder, Glide, and Thunkable. I'm not gonna be, we're gonna have a time to show you all of these, but if you are looking for that side, I would definitely recommend going and checking out some of those resources. So I want to get into the criteria for evaluating no code tools. So number one is user friendliness. Uh, you have to, it's got to be easy. You have to understand like what you're doing, and things have to be pretty clear. The next thing is customization capabilities. How much can you customize it and personalize it and refine it so that it's closer to the vision that you have? One thing I want to also make clear with these no-code tools, I would say most of them can probably get you 60 to 80% of the way there very fast, which is great. That saves you so much time, money, effort, energy. But that last 20% is really important. And that's when you probably need to spend more resources or get consulting or get like devs or etc. But you can get very far very quickly with no to minimal amount of money to get you most of the way there now, which is awesome. What are the AI powered features? So how does it help you simplify tasks? Some are you can literally just type a prompt and then it can go and act. Others are here's 10 options that things that you can do. You press it and then you decide which one's the best and go from there. So understanding the different functionalities there. And then pricing and value. So what is your budget? How expensive is it going to be to create and maintain your website or application so you can keep the lights on and make sure it stays alive, and make sure it matches your needs? Because like things can get very expensive very quickly, but you also can go cheaper routes just to prove your model before you decide to like go all in and like make this your main thing. Um, the other things to consider for the features in these builders are um, content generation. So some blogs, let's say that you are creating, even for my website, for my classic cars that I'm trying to sell. On there, I want to go and create content to talk about the different types of styles of cars from different eras, whether I want to talk about the 50s or 60s, et cetera. Because you have to think about how are people discovering your website exists. A lot of it has to do with search. And so how do you get search? You get it by creating content. So what if you don't have time to write blogs and you don't really know what to talk about, et cetera? Well, what if one of the tools on that website builder was to generate content, like just purely AI generated SEO ready content that now makes your website rank higher and get more discoverability? That exists now, which is also really crazy. It's wild that you on your website can go and have anywhere from 1 to all the way up to 100 blog posts a week from different tools that are out there. So again, that's another thing to consider. The SEO optimization, search engine optimization is probably one of the most underappreciated pieces um, of time that you can spend learning about as it relates to your website or app. How do people find you? Um, Organic is slower and harder and takes time. Um, Paid advertising also obviously gets you there faster. But even once you have people that would land through paid ads, what would make them stay? What keeps them sticky? And so search engine optimization is something that is highly valuable and something to keep in mind as you are starting to build out your website and app. Um, so the smart layout and design suggestions. There's other pieces of this that you can ask the AI, like, hey, what would make this better? Tell me your suggestion. And it will literally say, well, you could move this here, you could do this. And then you can say, like, I like the first idea, I don't like the second idea. Do the first and do the third. And then it'll just do it. Like that immediate feedback and then the ability to make the adjustments very quickly just from prompts is awesome. What you used to have to do if you had an engineer was to have that conversation face to face. So find a time to meet, talk about it, go back and forth, give them time to go and implement the changes, and then decide did you like their changes or not. You can do this in seconds now. That is so powerful. The final thing is personalized user experience in Rex. So make sure it's towards your target audience, but also make sure you're getting feedback from initial people. But again, like, it kind of goes back into the design suggestions with the AI. The AI can now give you some of that feedback. It can create heat maps and show you where people would probably click and do things. And so you can just refine over and over and over again, where you used to have to go and ask friends, family, or pay people to do tests. Yeah, you now have these things called AI agents that basically can do the same thing, test over and over again, and then provide you that feedback again in seconds, minutes. It's really remarkable. So let's get into it. We're doing a case study number one. So we have Galileo.ai. So we don't have time, unfortunately, to do each of these case studies. I have four. We're only going to do one, and we're going to do this one. And we're going to do it in real time together. So first, I'm going to talk about the pros and cons, and then I'm going to uh, stop doing the presentation. I'm going to go to the actual website and walk you through the free version. So pros, it's AI powered and efficient, so you can generate wireframes, prototypes so quickly, saving you time. It's user friendly, which you'll see. It will just simplify a lot of the design process. And design process is probably one of the most expensive and time consuming pieces of all of this. So you'll see how quick this is. Then the customization options, you really can customize this a lot. There's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of back and forth you can go with some of its prompts. The cons, the subscription can be pricey for some people. So that's one element of it. Some limitations on AI from automated designs is not necessarily as complex as some of the others that I have in these case studies. And then the final is just the internet dependence. So sometimes in coding, you don't have to be plugged in into internet to go and do all the things you need for your website, for your app, etc. But this one you do. Most AI models you do. So even for like ChatGPT, some of these others, unless you download it locally on your computer, you always have to be plugged into the internet. For, I would say, 99% of the people, that's not a problem. But for your hardcore programmers, etc., if you were to do that, it's fine. But you also need a very, I won't say expensive, but you need to have a high quality computer that can handle the amount of data that is required to download and run that program. So enough on that. Let's go ahead and jump into Galileo. And just quick, everyone can still see my screen. We still see what's going on. Okay, so this is the website. You can see down here on the left, I have well, I guess this thing's in the way, but I have some credits. I have about 150 credits I can use. So as soon as you sign up, you get in here and you can do a lot. We can create a website. We can create an app. We can do a lot of things. So the first thing I'm gonna do is just start with the website. And so if I don't really have a prompt or anywhere to start, I literally can just take one of these and start from here and move around. Or if I have a prompt, it'll just go to work. So I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna talk about my prompt. So I want to create a sleek website that will showcase classic cars from the 50s and 60s. I want uh, to highlight car shows, highlight a monthly car show that I will host in New Orleans, LA. We'll just start there. Proceed with a mobile app instead. Sure. Let's start with app. Yes, please. So it's already breaking down the core of what I need for my app. So we have one, two, three, four, five, six screens. Yes, please. Yes. Thanks. So again, the hardest concept that I was talking about earlier on the process was what are the screens? Why are they important? It already basically laid that out for me with a very small prompt of like, oh, you need a home screen. What's the upcoming shows? Classic car gallery, details screen, event registration, and then the about us. So um, I asked for that outline. That's great. If I don't like it, I could say, hey, actually, instead of the upcoming cars show screen, put a map on where the latest thing is, etc. And then it would make that adjustment instead. Or if I say, actually, I don't want, instead of after the car detail screen, have a page where I can go and talk to the person that owns that car so I can try to broker a deal. And the more details you can put in this thing, the more you feed it, it can actually go and do. So look, in seconds, we have an outline of an app. Here's our homepage with some classic cars from the 50s and 60s, what it'll look like. Here's some upcoming car shows that are coming up in New Orleans. They even have a good name in there. We have different types of cars in here, from a Thunderbird to 1957 Chevrolet. Here's a really nice 1969 Ford Mustang Mach. So this is what's going to be at that car show with like how many miles are on here. Like this is remarkable. This got made in how many seconds, y'all? Like crazy. So, and even like a profile page, like, okay, who's the person that's trying to sell this car? You have a whole profile and like what that looks like, etc. And so you can then go in and edit this. So it's now like walking you through what the design is like, what's happening, everything else. And so like with this UI right now, I could say, um, looks great. I don't like the brownish color in the background. Can you use more of a red color? So I put that prompt because for whatever reason, I don't like the color brown. I want something else. I want red. Red speaks to me. So I give that suggestion. It's now going to work on updating what it just did, and we'll see what it comes up with. So basically on this one, it looks like what it did instead of like for the button, it went to the button and it just changed that. So um, now again, I can just keep feeding it more and more responses, feedback, etc., and I can get it pretty close to what I want. Or if I don't want to use a prompt anymore, I can just go into um, edit, or I can go to Figma. So Figma is a wireframing platform. If you see down here on the left, it gave me the clip. I can now go into another platform called Figma where you do wireframing, and now I can literally go to each of these buttons and do whatever I want with them. I can change them. I can change the color. I can manipulate this however I want. Um, this is, again, this is incredible. This is just one of many other tools that are out there. But like, if you are considering creating a mobile app right now, in minutes, you already have a V1 of a potential app that you can make. Um, I know there's a lot to unpack there. I'm sure there's questions. I'll save them for the end. But yeah, this is just one example. I'm going to go back to the Explore, and now we're going to look at a website, right? So I'm going to try this one. Let's build a website together. So, uh, website for online shopping goods, design a listing page for camping goods. Sure. So you can see the prompt of the kind of website that I want, and it's going to give me some examples. And again, the thing that's truly remarkable about this is that like even though like maybe this is a little bit slower than the mobile app thing that came through, the fact that this is giving us a clear picture result with the thought process of how it built it in under a minute, maybe it takes up to 2 minutes, is unbelievable. So, okay, here we are. Here is so two variants for the listing page on your design. It walks me through what's happening. Um, so I'm going to say I like variant B. Um, can you provide a different format for how the pictures are being shown? So I give the prompt, it knows where to go pull from. I didn't give it a ton of direction. I left it very open. The beautiful thing, and I will spend some time on with you guys later, is the future of prompting. So AI is here. It's not going anywhere. How do you use it? And how do you get prepared for what's coming into the everyday? It's going to be prompt engineering. How good are you at being descriptive, creative, and asking the right questions to get to the end result that you want? How can you make a framework to where the vision of what you're trying to do so that you can make this AI make it and make it quickly, and do it in a unique way that no one else has thought of? Um, and so in this one, it looks like it didn't really change it too much. It didn't put the description on here anymore. And it looks like, yeah, it didn't make like a whole lot of changes other than there's now no longer a description. So how it talks about, improving the visibility appeal, etc. So obviously there's a lot of things that we can do with this. We can spend a lot of time on this, but I just wanted to give you a taste of, I mean, we did all of this in 10 minutes. Imagine if you're like, oh, I'm locked in. I want to spend an hour on this. How much progress can you make in a short amount of time on your potential website or app, etc. And again, this was free. I did not pay for this. I signed up for a free account the other day because I wanted to show you all today. So the paid versions are even more advanced. You can do more with it, so much more. So, and again, this is just one example. So going back to the presentation, let me go back to this. So that was Galeo. Next, you have Hostinger. It's another cool one, super affordable, very affordable. And this one's more leaning towards the building a website side of things. Um, it's very high performance and super user friendly. If you thought what I just did was user friendly, this is on par, if not even more user friendly. The cons though are that there's not so much advanced features. For the purpose of like just getting started, most people on this call probably doesn't need to use the advanced features. This is when you're like, oh no, I'm like really trying to like build this thing and take it to market, etc. That's when you might need a little bit more of those advanced features. You have add-on costs. So like remember earlier I talked about you need a domain name. You need to do I didn't talk about this, was this in the hosting later, but backups. You need to make sure your website's backed up because what happens if it goes down? What happens if something happens? You need to have a secure way to make sure that everything that you built is safe. Um, so a lot of the things that are on here, advanced security, all that kind of stuff are additional fees. This is similar to what GoDaddy is. So on GoDaddy, they make it very easy for you to go and buy a website, but then they upcharge you on everything else. So you want to build something now, WordPress, cool, that's a charge. Oh, you want security? Cool, that's a charge. Oh, you want email? Cool, that's a charge. Like that's how they get you, right? And usually they give you very easy, low pricing at the beginning. They lock you into a 2 year to 4 year contract. And then after that is done, they jack up their prices. But by that time, you're so locked into them, it's very hard and there's a lot of friction for you to leave. So that's how they know they get you. So that's why on this con, although it is very easy to start with this, it might add up into the future as you potentially stay here longer, and then support limitations. So the sometimes things break and you need help. You need to be able to talk to somebody. It's important that you have a good support. So I don't know so much about their support, but if it's already coming up that they have some challenges with support, might be another consideration of working with them. So again, I want to make sure that we have enough time for conversation at the end. So I'm gonna kind of fly through the rest of these. But case study number 3 is Webflow. Webflow is super, I want to say super advanced, but it is, if you want to make a beautiful responsive design that goes across all the platforms, be able to do anything ever that you'd ever want to do to a website, Webflow is there. Steep learning curve. This is the biggest one I'm gonna point out. It is not like simple to start, but if you learn this, you can build any website you'd ever dream of. And it can be expensive. So this is for the more advanced, and a lot of websites, a lot of corporates use like Webflow and other things with that. So consideration there. And then Wix. Wix is super easy. Again, I know I brought up like if you are trying to like have an e-like commerce site, this is probably a good place to start because I think they have some good integrations with Shopify and others. So the biggest downside is the design lock-in. So you know how I was going in like on the website and I was saying like, hey, do this, change this, whatever. If you wanted to completely change your website on Wix, you can't really do that. Like once you pick your lane, you're locked in. So it's not as flexible. So that part stinks. And sometimes performance can be a little challenging. But I have a comparison chart that kind of goes through everything. The reason I want to show Galileo is I think of those 4, that's probably one of the easiest, simplest, fastest places you can start and experiment and play with and kind of go from there. Okay, so after you have gone through that process, you're like, okay, cool. I played around. I think I'm ready. Let's do this. Hosting plan. So you need to then decide like what platform you're going to work with and make sure that they are consistent, that they have reliable uptime, like the websites don't crash, anything else like that. They have enough space. So if your website keeps getting bigger and you add more and more stuff to it, it becomes slow and heavy, etc. You don't need that. Your website needs to be fast. So making sure that you have enough space in there, and then SSL certificate, making sure everything that is secure. You have backups, firewalls, because there's a lot of there are a lot of hackers out there, and they're trying to potentially break in and get your stuff. So making sure it's secure. Final piece, test and launch. I can't emphasize this enough. You need to test and test and test and test and test again before you decide you're going to launch thing. Make sure everything is working the way that it needs to. And then you have your launch checklist to making sure your SEO is good, your integrations, everything else. Whether this is for your website or your app, make sure you test, refine, and you're excited for when you launch. Then the final thing, which I think is the lifelong thing, once you have finally brought your baby to this world, you have to put in the work to make sure everybody knows about it. So creating social media and content marketing. So earlier I was telling you about like if you have a blog or even if you don't have a blog, creating a blog so that you are creating content. So then there's more ways for people to come and find you, or you're posting it so that you then post on social media. So then they can then find you and discover you that way. So there's email marketing, collaborations, like so many stuff. So I'd say like everything I showed you above before 9 was probably like 20% of the work. 9 on, this is 80% of it. This is the real work. Now that you have it ready, you have to keep refining it. You have to keep improving it and getting out to the world so that people know you exist. So that's it. I hope this has been helpful. Thank you for attending. Your no-code journey starts now. You can go explore. You can experiment. You're going to succeed. Your key takeaways: start smart, find your purpose before diving into these tools. Just take some time. Leverage the no-code. There's a lot of good platforms out there that make tasks simple. It is crazy how quickly we just went through some of those things that, again, for me to do some of those steps took me months. Took me months and took me a lot of money. You can do a lot of this in minutes and for free. And then finally, consistency. Once you get into this, just stick with it, right? Like it's a journey. A lot of people like get excited about creating a website or an app and things like, oh, it's this cool thing, but it's really um, a consistent thing that has to keep coming back over and over and over again. So you're signing up for something bigger. So I just want to remind you that like going on an endeavor like this isn't like a short stint. It has legs. It's going to take some time. So I want to pause there. I know we have about 15 minutes left. So yeah, want to open it up to questions and go from there. And then down at the bottom, I have my link tree. If you want to connect, if you have questions, more than happy to connect and keep speaking with you. But yeah, open for questions.
Thank you, Richard. That was so helpful. I do have just one question. So I did start a website through GoDaddy, and you're right, consistency is key. I need to work more on it. I just haven't had a lot of time and needed to learn some stuff, but I'm wondering, because I've already started with GoDaddy and I've used some of their tools. Can I utilize some of these other tools and then pull that into the website, or are you stuck with the whatever company you started with, or?
You're not. So there's a couple of options with GoDaddy. The challenge that you're going to face with GoDaddy, if you are doing stuff outside and bringing it over, you're going to need a specialist that can kind of bridge that over. So your website's probably built on WordPress. WordPress is used all over. So what you can do on some of these websites, if you have the integration, some have the ability to export as a theme on WordPress. And so you basically download that file. You then can go into the backend of your website of WordPress where you can do some of these things, upload it, boom, there's your theme. It fixes it. It'll do all this stuff. I know I'm saying it very simply, but I would say there is a solution. I would say that you can do some other things, but as you're going through the process, you can basically ask those questions or make sure that that can happen. And then there's a lot of different tutorials on YouTube Academy and other places are specialists that do this every day that can show you step by step how to make that happen.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome. Let me check the chat. Okay, cool. Well, sorry, let me go back here. Any other questions? If not, we can go ahead and wrap. I guess one more question I have just from the presentation that I did. Uh, Generally speaking, I'm just curious, how many people on this call are using AI in your day-to-day life? Okay, so decent amount. My I want to encourage you that if you are not to look into it. There are a lot of free things that you can use right now. Obviously, there's ChatGPT. There's another company called Perplexity AI. There is another company that just came out that's disrupting the whole market right now called DeepSeek, which is basically the newest version of ChatGPT on steroids, but for free. I had spent some time this weekend using it, and it is unbelievable. And the things that you can do with it. Um, but it's not even that you have to be utilizing um, these resources for work. It can be for anything. For example, I am in the process of planning a bachelor party, and I put a very long prompt into ChatGPT on, hey, I have this amount of people. I want to do these activities. I want to do it on these dates, and I want these types of things I potentially can do. Recommend your top 3 cities. Go. And it did. And basically refine stuff from there. I will say with these tools for your everyday life, again, ChatGPT, all these other things I just talked about, they're not going to get you 100% of the way there, but they are going to get you 60 to 80%, which is going to save you a lot of time, effort, energy. And for a lot of people, one of the hardest things when doing one of these tasks is starting and to like create the initial framework and to build off of that. And so these AI tools are helping you get there so much faster. So again, if you aren't using it, I encourage doing it. If you have questions around it, happy to talk through it. And yeah, just the future's here. AI is truly changing the game, and a lot of the limitations that used to be out there on being able to build and do your own thing, um, the friction's gone. Like it's just now it's just a matter of how much time, energy do you want to put into this? Because there's okay, one way I want to frame this, I think this is a good way to end. Um, when the iPhone first came out, which I believe was around 2009, um, it changed the game on like the future of like having a smartphone. But the App Store wasn't really utilized for 2 years. It took 2 years before Instagram and like Facebook and some of these others that like really blew up into what the biggest platform, or Twitter, X now, blew up into what they were. So that same moment of like the App Store coming out, that moment of like AI is here, I would say this is like year 1, year 1.5 of that. So like a lot of these companies that are building right now that are going to be these next huge things haven't even happened yet because they haven't fully utilized the tool. So if you are using it right now, and even if you aren't, you're considering using it, you are part of that exclusive 5% of the world that's locking in and learning this stuff right now, and it's only going to set you up to be successful. So even by being here right now, um, you're setting the stage to be aware and successful in how you can approach problems in all facets of your life. So again, appreciate you. Hope this was helpful. And Jalen, I'm going to pass you the mic.
Thank you, Richard. Really appreciate you jumping on this call. I met Richard at Tulane sophomore year, and we've been very close friends ever since. So I really can't appreciate you enough for jumping on this call. Some of my key takeaways from this, some of my nuggets. You need to define your objective. You really need to be mindful about your user experience. How easy is it going to be for anyone trying to access your site to navigate? When you choose your domain name and register it, it's best for it to be under 15 characters. You want it to be simple for your audience, for your consumers to type in and find you. Wix is a great app for e-commerce. Squarespace is very simple, but it offers a bit less customization. AI or automated SEO or search engine optimization is something we should all be using. If you're building a website, you should absolutely be leaning into that. And then promote and maintain. Richard's kind of spoke on this a bit, but building the website is one piece of it. Maintaining the website and promoting the website is a much bigger piece of it that's going to truly translate to your success. Richard, thank you again so much for joining us. For those of you who joined the call maybe late, we will be sending out this recording. So keep an eye out for that. And definitely stay locked in with us because we've got a busy spring ahead of us. So some of our current and upcoming programs are this January 31st to February 2nd. We've got our startup sprint. February 5th, we have another webinar where we will be discussing design around strategies for overcoming patent barriers. And then on February 19th, we will have another webinar about building a physical prototype. So we hope to see you again soon. Thank you again for hanging out with us this morning, soon to be afternoon, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.